Welcome to the Life Matters podcast with enlightening conversations on success and living well. My guests are all motivated by the desire to make a difference, and they share their wisdom, personal journeys, and a host of practical guidance that we can apply in our lives. Subscribe on your favourite platform and never miss an episode. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Sue Doughty, the founder of Westmeria Counselling Services. Sue has dedicated over 2 decades to expanding access to affordable mental health support in her community. Sue trained and qualified as a counsellor whilst a young mum. She started practising from a single room and steadily built her vision for a community-based counselling service. What began as a small local service has now grown into a major charitable provider of mental health support. Today, Westmeria works with around 100 counsellors, delivering over 250 counselling sessions each week to individuals and couples in need. Hello, Sue. I'm delighted to be talking to you today. Thank you for joining me.
All right, so I'm really pleased to be here and chat with you today, Diane. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm curious to know, Westmeria has been established 20 years now. I'm curious to know what your journey was into becoming a counsellor yourself and then starting Westmeria. So would you mind talking to me about that?
Of course, I guess, although I didn't know it at the time, when I was about 18, one of my family had a mental health crisis, and it really did have quite a profound effect on me. I hadn't really come into contact with it before, and so it was tricky. It was tricky to negotiate. I don't think there was much help out there for anybody involved. I started volunteering then at our local hospital, Queen Mary's, to kind of give something back after they'd helped us so much. And I think, interestingly, I went back there afterwards, some years later, after I'd had my children. I was a legal executive back in the day when I first got married. Then when I got pregnant and had children, that wasn't doable. So I had some time out with them, which was important to me, and then found myself back at Queen Mary's as a healthcare assistant. And I loved it. I worked in the women's wing of the hospital, so predominantly the maternity services with Kent Women's Wing, where they do all things gynecological. And it was there one evening when I was working on a night shift in the maternity in the postnatal ward, and this lady was really struggling with breastfeeding. So obviously I did all the medical stuff that was needed of me to go with that. But moreover, it struck me, she just needed someone to talk to. So I said to her, every time she sort of woke and the baby woke, just call. Night shifts generally not too busy. So I was able to go in every time and just sit with her and chat with her and kind of relax. It was very calming. It can be really lonely at night in a hospital. And then I thought, I think I'd like to work with the mind rather than the body. And then I started my training in the counselling, and they helped me at Queen Mary's for my first year. And then I never looked back. I absolutely loved it.
Did you feel like you'd come home, you'd found your calling?
Yeah, I really did. I didn't have an easy time with my training, to be honest, but I worked through that, and I think I know now it's made me a lot stronger, and maybe that's what I needed at the time to sort of challenge me a little bit more. And then I met up with a friend of my brother, and we decided we would start Westmeria, and thought, let's go for it. So that's where we start, sort of contacts, and I had the expertise, so we kind of went from there, really.
Yes, and 20 years on, what a journey it's been, because you started from a single room, didn't you?
Yeah.
And over 20 years ago, and since that time you've grown Westmeria to how many counsellors are on your books, and how many sessions are you doing?
We have 100 counsellors now, which is amazing. And we're offering over 250 sessions per week now, which is an incredible amount. So there's been so many changes. We'll be 23 this year. And I remember when we first opened, I went to sort of every GP in the area, every sort of service provider, and said, this is what we're going to do. Some wouldn't see me, some would. And then we just told our story of what we wanted to do, that we we're going to offer a donation-only service. We didn't have any funding from anywhere. And they said, this is not sustainable. You're not going to be able to do that. Free counselling, no way. But we've proved them wrong. So we certainly did do that. We've always encouraged people to make a donation for the service because, like I said, initially, I kind of paid it forward because someone had helped the member of my family, and I felt I wanted to give that back. And it's a kind of the ethos of what we offer at Westmeria as well. It's like you're sitting in that chair because someone's made a donation to enable you to do that. So I think that's important when people can't always value themselves. They're more likely to value someone else to begin with. And then hopefully through the process of counselling and therapy, they learn to value themselves as well. And I think that's really important for people's journey. So although that's been in the journey, I remember one man used to come in, I mean, going back 23 years, and he used to come in with a £2 coin and put that on the side every week. And he was just so grateful. And so were we. And I just thought, gosh, we have made this accessible. And that was the whole idea of it, because, you know, counselling can be a very middle class thing to be able to sort of access. And I wanted to break that down. I wanted that stigma to go. So 2005, we became a charity. So that opened a few more doors for us because it meant that we could fundraise. We hadn't been able to do that before. So I'm sure like all the family and friends of the volunteers and everybody within the service used to hate to come see us come and say, what does she want now? We've got to go to something else. But it was a real family feel. And I still try to maintain that. Obviously, we're a huge family now with 100 counsellors, but the sort of the crux of it all is, you know, we're doing this for the same reason. We want to make it accessible to everybody else because counselling is expensive. So we have a low cost service, which people can pay as the minimum is only £6, which is like the price of a coffee really and a bun. And we do a low cost private counselling service in the evenings and outside of hours, which really helps as well. So we were doing okay with the fundraising, but again, really tough. And then obviously came COVID. Halt to all that, which was really tricky. So we weren't able to do anything then apart from a few sort of virtual things, but it just didn't really work. And that was a hard time. And, you know, I still believe that with COVID, it's given us something else as well. It's not all bad, not all negative, because I think the model of Westmeria changed during that time because one day we were working very nicely thinking, well, we'll be okay. The next day you can't go in. So you've got to make some changes and you've got to make them quickly. So we then went online as we are doing now, which is now very much a thing of what we offer in the here and now, isn't it? But then we didn't. It was not something we'd ever done. So we did some courses really quickly about how that's going to work. And then we started to offer that, which people were so grateful for. And we were too, because it meant we could keep open.
Yes, and I think probably for some people, in-person counselling can be quite difficult if they've got a lot of commitments and time restrained, and also maybe the privacy aspect as well. Perhaps some people like online, it works for them better. Do you find that?
I do. I mean, sadly, for some people during the COVID times, for people that had nice houses or lived just a couple, but when you're a year old and you're in your parents' house in a little room with a laptop on your lap, that's not. I'm often quite worried about people overhearing. So it's kind of a bit of both. I think what it did was open up those channels, and also that where people haven't got the time, they could just get in quickly and do your minute session. And you're there when you come into the surgery or to the new practice, you've got to factor in those times. And I think
Yes.
what we've found is what we call the disinhibition, where people tend to tell you more on camera like this than they would face to face. Because you can switch it off at any
Wow.
time, can't you? And it's like, well, I need to go now. So when your room, it's a little bit more difficult. So yeah, there's pros and cons for it for sure. I mean, for the model of Westmeria, that's why we're able to offer so many more sessions now, because our wonderful volunteers volunteer 4 hours each every week. So when we had the one that I would have a room for 4 hours. Now we have two people in that room because they'll do 2 hours face to face and then they'll go and do 2 hours online from home. So we literally have doubled our offering, which is incredible.
That is incredible. And you make a good point. It surprises me actually that people will be more open online. I'm interested to hear that.
Yeah.
Why, brings me on to my next question. Why is counselling so powerful?
I think we're not working to fix people. We are working to help them to find their own way back to good mental health. So yes, of course, we've got the skills to help them to go about that. But essentially, we're giving them choice. And that, I think that's a really big thing. It was my aim from day one to be able to give that affordable service for people. And it's been so widely used. And at the same time, there aren't really any other services, certainly not in Bromley, that give that up to 24 sessions. You'll get 6 through the government scheme. But other than that, there's nothing. We don't get any funding from them either. But it gives people time to settle into the therapy, I think, and work with their therapist to build the relationship. That's the most important thing, the relationship between you and your therapist. And generally, we'll all offer at the end of the session when you've been seen for the first time, are you happy to work with me? Because you could go in and I could remind you of your sister-in-law that you really don't get on with and you think, oh, this is never going to work for me. So giving people that opportunity, again, first, right at the beginning, you're giving them a choice. And I think the effect, of course, of counselling is really far-reaching. Of course, it helps the person who come in, and you can imagine the positive impact it's having all around them. Colleagues at work, friends and family. It could run into lots and lots of people that are benefiting from that, really.
Yes. So following on from that, I suppose I'm curious to know how people know when it's working for them. And I guess I'm also asking about remarkable examples of people who've made huge recoveries, obviously without giving away any confidentiality. What are the indicators that things are working for people that you see?
It's interesting you ask that because we often get people going, am I doing it right? How am I meant to feel? And it's just giving that back. It's like, we all do, all our counsellors feel really privileged to be able to work with people to achieve their own goals. So we generally ask them, what is it that's troubling you? What would you like to achieve from counselling? What would be your goal? I guess, what would success look like for them? And also, people don't always know. So I think to be able to work with someone to even find that out is the first big step. And we had one guy, he was really, really low. And this is one of my own success stories, I think. He didn't want to be here anymore. He didn't know that he would be able to live through what he was going through. And it was hard. It was really hard. He was at an all-time low. But working with him, he just definitely came out the other side. And now he's a successful businessman. He's got a family. He's running his own business. And he's still a supporter of Westmeria. And that was 22 years ago. And he's still supporting us in whatever way he can. And he's so interested. And again, it's his pay forward. He's giving back, still donates every month and has done for over 20 years. So that, I think it's important to say that everybody is unique. So someone coming with depression, you come in with depression, me coming with depression, there won't be one size fits all. Everybody is unique. So it's acknowledging that and see how best it works. And we all work in slightly different ways, but the end result is the most important one. We're working to give people autonomy and some self-worth and confidence back.
Amazing. And I think the fact that you're in touch still with someone that you worked with right at the beginning or almost the beginning speaks volumes actually about what you're doing and what you meant to that person.
Yeah.
So that is huge. I know the government launched its first ever men's health strategy last November, outlining its 10-year plans around supporting men's health. And I see in that document that mental health is a key area. And yet I also know that only 20% of Westmeria's service users are men. So why do men find it so hard to reach out for help? And how can we unpick the beliefs that many men have around asking for help?
I think it's really tricky. I mean, when I first started, the first stats we did over the first couple of years of Westmeria, the sort of demographic was slightly different and men were only 10% of our total. So that's gone up a bit, but that's not a lot, 10% in near on 20. I'm really excited to tell you, as well, as you know, Diana, we have appointed our first ambassador to Westmeria, who is a man. So we're having a big focus this year on men's mental health. So this report coming out is really beneficial for us and how we can place ourselves within that sort of that market, if you like. So Francis Duku is a semi-professional footballer. He's such a lovely man, so passionate about health and well-being. So to have him as a role model, I think will really help to push our drive towards supporting men's mental health and tell stories of people in the football world where they will come to talk to him now. So maybe that's the angle, is getting people to talk. There's like an interim. We have a few male counsellors, which is great. I think it's more about getting people in. Once they're in, they're fine. They don't really care who they talk to. They just want someone that's qualified, that's enable them to be able to sort of search for their well-being. Just think, out of 250 people a week, only 20% of them are men, and the men's suicide rate is so high. It's really tragic. So I think we need to reach more people. I think it's about reducing the stigma. Then asking for help is sometimes perceived to be a weakness. Personally, I think it's an incredible strength. And I think if only people could reach out before the untenable thing happens is just so important. And I think, again, if we're going down the suicide, it's people just scared of the word. And actually, it needs to be said. I was listening to Roman Kemp. He does a podcast. He launched an initiative as well, Together Against Suicide, and that's with the CEO of Tottenham. So it's for the Premier League. So him and Francis have a lot of sort of similarities there. He talks of strength of family support, the role of football and the community in changing the conversation. And I think part of his initiative is to pair football clubs with local charities. So I think Francis got many hats, and he encourages men to take care of their mental health holistically. And I think we in Westmeria look at looking holistically, top to toe. And I think as a semi-pro, he's seen the effects of poor mental health of players over the years. So I'm delighted he's joining us to spread the message and hopefully increase our reach to help men to take their mental health a little bit more seriously. Seeing someone in this way can break down the stigma, and then we go on to teach our children. So I think uncomfortable conversations are beginning to happen. Sometimes we assume people know that there's help out there, but this sadly isn't true. And I think it's more acceptable in the community for that conversation to start. We need to start pushing that forward.
I don't know if this is still the case, but I'm sure I read somewhere that the waiting list to be referred for counselling through your GP can be as much as 6 months. Is that still true?
Yeah, 6 to 9 months. Yeah. Yeah. And then they'll only get 6 sessions. So it's kind of the tip of the iceberg often. So a lot of good work can be done in 6 sessions. But, you know, if you're looking at someone that's never really trusted someone, that it takes a while.
Yeah. And actually what concerns me more is that delay, the 6 months. I mean, when people are asking for help, they need the help now, don't they? They can't envisage 6 months.
At the beginning, our waiting list, we were able to get people in really quickly. And mostly now, I think more now people are a bit more picky about times they can come. So then potentially they'll wait a little bit longer. But generally, we're about 8 weeks. And then, of course, we have the private service, which is still lower than you would pay elsewhere, so that they've got a little bit more choice. If they're working all day and they can't get anywhere, then that's available for them too. So we're kind of 9 till 9 now on our service, which is pretty incredible.
That is incredible. I know that Samaritans is very overloaded. I actually have a friend who's a Samaritan, and he was on a night shift on Boxing Day night. And when he joined his shift, there were 44 people waiting to speak to a Samaritan. And several hours later, when he was finishing, there were 48 people still waiting to talk to a Samaritan. So it really is an indication of the mental health crisis that is in our society at the moment, I think. And the fact that you're providing this accessible counselling, which is very affordable, I think and especially in a society where I feel that we're becoming a little bit more polarised into the haves and have-nots, I think that is really amazing. I wanted to ask you about the range of difficulties that people come to you with, because
Mhm.
I don't really have a flavour fully for that. So, we talk about suicide at
Mhm.
one extreme, but what are the other kinds of problems that people come to Westmeria with, wanting to have help with?
I guess most everything. What we don't do is specialise in certain areas because there are a lot of places out there for that. So addiction, we would always signpost on, and eating disorders, we would signpost on. But obviously we have to apply for a lot of funding because we don't get funded by anyone, and that's hard in itself. But equally, it's the fact that I would say we were a generic service, so we're the mopper uppers. So if you've got someone, unfortunately, with a diagnosis of cancer, they'll get the help they need, hopefully, from the hospital and from that side of things, but the family won't. So then the family will come to us, and they're struggling how to speak to that person, or should they ignore it? What do I bring up? Or people that with severe anxiety, stress, which is massive. Loneliness is quite a big thing. And I think, especially saying earlier about the COVID times, if you've got years ago, young people would go to work. I'll speak from experience. You go out for a drink maybe after work, or you'll meet in a coffee bar and you'll just chat through the day. And then you might bump into someone and think, oh, they're lovely people. And then you might meet your partner that way. They didn't have that. So they've really missed out on that sort of thing. And I think living under the same roof as all your family can be tricky. You get on well, but it's like you're there 24/7. And COVID was really difficult for that. So I think we're still seeing those long-term effects of that in the counselling today. Relationships, obviously, a big thing. So across the board, really.
Yes, and what I suppose, as having talked about men, I'm wondering, do you support mums? Because there's an awful lot of young mums who struggle. I hadn't realised that hormone levels, for a start, don't get
Yeah.
back to normal for 2 years.
No.
So there's lots of challenges, I imagine, being a new mom.
And the pressure of that. And again, a lot of people now, whereas years ago it might have been, well, you might work part time or you might stay at home mum. Doesn't happen for much now. And the whole social media buys into that, in as much as like, oh yes, well, I've got 2 children and I work full time, and I still go to the gym and look how fancy I look, and I've had my lashes done, I'm having my nails done. It's exhausting. Where do you start? Where can you unload this? Because sometimes you don't want to tell your friends because they think you're great and you don't really want them to think that I'm not great. Of course, they won't think that because they're probably all thinking the same thing. But it's giving permission to feel it's okay not to be okay. Because I think we
Yeah.
feel this perfect persona that we've got to run the business, we've got to get the kids to school, we've got to take the car in for a service, and it's like, oh no, I'm not feeling that today. Is it okay to sort of take 10 minutes out?
Yeah, I think you make a good point actually about social media. I mean, I see they banned it for under 16s in Australia, and I read something yesterday where Spain is considering something. And I mean, I know that's under 16s, but I think it can have just as negative an impact. Obviously, not in the brain development way, but seeing all these perfect lives, I have to say, it gets on my nerves.
Well, it's tricky, isn't it? You get a WhatsApp and it's been read, but they haven't replied, and it's been 5 minutes now, so they don't like me anymore. And if you're feeling insecure and you're feeling anxious, and that's adding to it, it's like that's tough. That's a tough call.
So amazing about the ambassador and Francis
Yeah,
coming on board to
yeah.
increase the uptake of the services by men. And it's going to be an interesting year. What else do you have planned? What else would you like to see happen? I know you've still got vision.
I'm a very excitable person and I have loads of ideas and I love it. And let's not wait, let's do it now. So sometimes I have to wait. But obviously, as we increase, our team's increasing too. And we've got our new building now in Bromley, which I am super proud of, because it's been a dream from day one that we would have our own premises, because we've always rented in a beautiful building and we're still there and we still continue to be there because we love it. But we have a college now, which I've developed in 2014, and that is doing really well. So we're full to capacity, and I worked it out the other day, and we've actually brought people from start to qualified. 30 people are now out there from the college. And also when we do the level 2, which is about skills, people just use that, like hairdressers, beauticians, how to talk to people, how to end a conversation, how to be boundaried. So we've seen a lot more people do that. So that's a really interesting, of course, to do. So that was always our way of being able to put back into the charity, but I needed to secure the space. So when we found this new building, it was just perfect. So we got it in January last year, and by April, we'd built from scratch 6 new beautiful counselling rooms. The college room is all done, and we have an office with 2 rooms upstairs. That it's kind of record timing, but it was wonderful. I mean, didn't need the gym because we were throwing out plaster and everybody was involved. It was just incredible. So I'm always thinking about the next way, make things. I want to invest in the staff, the volunteers and the clients. I mean, the volunteers are incredible. And I think with the counselling that we kind of almost expected in a way, which is not right, that we should work for free. But I think people really buy into the vision of Westmeria and what we're doing. So they'll continue. And our longest serving counsellor, Kate, has been with us at the beginning. So she's still there. Yeah, people give their time forever, really. And we're grateful. But one day, my vision is that we'd like to pay them. They're not paid. It would be lovely to do. And then this year, we're putting on our very first Westmeria conference. So I'm excited about that. So this is going to be on World Mental Health Day, which is the 10th of October. In Bromley, I haven't secured the location as yet, but we're going to have probably about 5 speakers. We've secured 2 already. So we're looking for another 3. It's all going to be around mental health and well-being. So as counsellors, we have to have professional development. So it's about helping people to get that and to make it a really interesting day. So we're really looking for that. So holistic in our approach. So we're approaching different people. So it doesn't have to be just about counselling. It can be about food and mood. And actually, if Joe Wicks is looking, he could come and have a little chat. That would be nice. Or Roman Kent. And I have written to Roman Kent, so we'll have to watch our space on that. So just keep an eye on our website for the space for what we're going to do with that. So I guess it's a new push this year. It's an exciting time. We're pushing forward to the next venture.
Yeah, the next level of your evolution.
Yeah.
I don't doubt you're going to make a huge success of it with your energy and vision and passion for all that you do. So I think you're amazing. If people want to find out more or connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that, please?
Through our website, which is www.westmeriacounselling.co.uk, or our telephone number 0208 467 9693, where you'll speak to our wonderful admin manager, Christina, and she will help you in every way she can.
Thank you for making time for me today. I know how busy you are. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.